Hi and welcome to this presentation of Timing Dash. In this video I will walk you through the main functionalities of the software. So when you log in for the first time, you will arrive directly on the dashboard, which is the main section of the app. On the top left, you will have the race selector. So if I click here, I can select a race. The session selector. No worry if at the beginning of a race weekend you only see one session. As soon as the next session will start, it should appear here. And then if you have multiple cars, you can switch them from here. On the right, you have a very simple menu to navigate through the app. So here you have the main dashboard. You're gonna have some default widgets when you're gonna log in for the first time, but you can customize all of that. So basically, you can simply click on the pencil icon on the bottom right of your screen here, and you will enter the edit mode. In the edit mode, you can change everything. So basically, you can just drag and drop widget to reorganize your dashboard. You can change the size of a widget, or you can delete it by clicking on the red icon here. If you want to add a widget, very simple. You can just click on the Add Widget button, and you will arrive on the widget gallery. Here you can see all the available widgets. They are like separated in 3 different categories, and you can simply add a widget by clicking on it. So here I want to add the notes widget. I click on it and it will appear at the bottom of my screen. When my dashboard is reorganized and I'm happy with it, I can just click on done and everything is going to be saved. So if a widget has a gear icon in the top right corner, so like this last lap widget here, it means that there is additional configuration possible. So if I click here, I can see that I can change the visibility of the columns. So if, for example, I don't want to see the sectors on this widget, I can just remove the sector here, save, and then the sectors are not here anymore. So the next section will be the live timing. So I can just click here on live timing on the top. So Timing Dash includes its own live timing, which is pretty standard. 2 little options. You can highlight your current car by clicking here. And if you only want to see the result of a class, you can just select the class. That's all for the live timing, pretty easy. The next page will be the stints. So here you can see all the stints completed by every car, along with statistics for each stint. At the top of the page, you can change the scale. So here I can put 4 hours, for example. You can show the cars of only one class. Here I can only show the B class, for example. And you can also choose manually the cars you want to see. So if you only want to see your car and your competitors, you can select them here and they will appear on the stints here. There are some driver information. So here you have the driver name. If the timing provider is giving that information, the name will be filled automatically, like here. But in some cases, the timing provider does not give us the name. And then you can manually edit the driver of your own car by clicking on a stint. So here I'm like on the 518 car, so I can edit the stint here on the 518 by just clicking on it. And then I can select the driver. If the timing provider is giving you driver but there is a mistake, you can also change it like that without any problem. This can be useful to have the right driver indicated for the lap analysis part later. So if you want to compare times between your driver, it's better to have the right driver at the right time. Of course, this modification only applies to your own car, so other people using the software will not see your modification. And then lastly, for the stint page, we have a prediction mode. So if you click on the prediction button here, you enter the end time of the session and you click on show predictions here, you apply, and then you will see some predictions appear. You have multiple settings that you can change here to change the way the predictions are gonna be made. But this section is still in development, so you're gonna have like more settings in the future. Specific rules for your series are gonna arrive. It should arrive in the coming months. Obviously, the more stint you will have, the better the predictions are gonna be. So our next section will be the fuel strategy. So when you're gonna arrive for the first time on the fuel strategy page, it's gonna look like that. So the first thing you should do is configure the race settings by clicking on the button here. So you're gonna have to enter the initial fuel, which is the tank capacity of your car, the consumption of your car under green, under safety car, and under full course yellow. When it's done, you can just click on save. Then when you're ready, or when your car go out of the box, for example, you can just click on Start Fuel Stint. You can enter the start lap of the stint. By default, it's automatically gonna put the current lap. And then underneath, you have like the same information that you just entered in the race settings. But for example, if you want to change some specific settings for just this stint, it's possible. That's why we show those fields as well. For example, if for this stint you only have half of your fuel tank, you can just enter it here. So then I click on Start Fuel Stint. And so when a fuel stint is active, at the top you're gonna see the initial value, so the start lap, the initial fuel, the liter by lap, and the total laps on top here. And then at the bottom, you're gonna see the main information, the most important one. So the fuel autonomy, the lap left, so it's the remaining lap left in this fuel stint. Here is the same as the autonomy because we just started a stint and we haven't completed any lap left yet, sorry. You have the fuel left in the tank and the piton lap, which is basically the theoretical last lap you should box before being out of fuel. And so all those information, we separate them in, let's say, two categories, which we call conservative and expected. The conservative is basically assuming that all the laps have been run under green flag. So it's a bit like a safe consumption or a worst case scenario. And then the expected is basically the consumption that's gonna be adjusted depending on the number of safety car and full course yellow laps that has been done. So for example, here, if I just add a lap of safety car, I can see that the expected calculation changed, but not the conservative one. Here you can simply enter the safety car and full course yellow lap that has been done during this stint. You have to enter this value manually. It doesn't calculate it automatically for you. There is a simple reason for that, is that sometimes you're gonna have full course yellow for 20 seconds during a lap. So the software is gonna say like, oh yeah, there is a full course yellow lap, but 20 seconds is maybe not enough for you to count that as a full course yellow lap or even half a lap. There is a little trick, is that if you go on the dashboard and you see that the lap had some yellow time, you can just go over this yellow thing here and you will see exactly how much time of this lap has been run on the green and how much lap has been run under full course yellow. So it's pretty interesting to know it's pretty interesting to know that information to decide if a lap is a full course yellow lap or not for the fuel consumption. When you're done with a stint, so when you go back to the box, for example, you can just click on Finish Stint here. You enter the end lap. Again, by default, it's going to be the current lap. And if you already have the information, you can enter the fuel consumption. If not, it's not a problem. You can add it later. So now the fuel is finished. The fuel stint is finished. You see it appear here. If you have the fuel consumption, you can add it now. If you don't, it's not a problem. Then it's just not going to calculate the consumption. When you go back again on track, it's easy. You click again on Start Fuel Stint. So that's it for the fuel strategy part. Now let's go to the laps analysis. So here, so the section is divided in 4 sub-pages. We're gonna start with the statistics one. So on the left of the statistic part, you can see all the selected laps. By default, it's all the laps, but we will see later that we can filter them. And on the right, it's all the statistics it's all the statistics related to the lap we have selected on the left. So for example, here is the average lap time of all the lap we selected. We can select with the filters here to see only the laps of one stint or one driver. We just choose the information we want. And then the statistics on the right are, of course, gonna be the statistics related only to this stint. So here the average lap time is the average lap time of this stint. Here we have that little option here, which is called compare versus, and it's our point of comparison. So here I can see that I chose the session best comparison, which means that like it's gonna give me the gap between our best time, here the best time of the stints, with the best time of the session. We can choose to have that comparison point with the class or with the car. If I select my car, for example, car best here, I will see that in this stints, my best lap is 1.6 seconds slower than the best lap of the car, so all the driver of this car. You can export all that selection of lap, all the laps or the selection as you want. You can export it and share it. So if you click on this button here, you will arrive first on the sharing page. The sharing page will allow you to generate a link. So if I click here on create share link, it's gonna generate a link with all the data and the statistics, and you can share these links with your driver or with another team member. And this link is basically gonna be like a super nice page with all the time that has been done and the statistics. And the link is totally mobile friendly, so they can open it from WhatsApp on their phone or by email. So it's pretty easy for them, and it's pretty cool. And then you have the second tab, which is the export. Here you can basically export all the data selected. You can choose the columns that interest you. You can choose to add the statistics. You click on export data, and basically it's gonna generate you an Excel file. The second part of the laps analysis are the charts. So there are like 3 different charts. Here we are on the racing average charts, which basically can be useful to analyze the consistency of a car of a driver. So here we can really analyze the difference between our car and the 4-2 car, for example. We can see that it's overall faster and has a slightly better consistency than us. The second chart is the gap chart, which will give you the evolution of a gap during the whole race. You can choose here the car that you want to display in comparison to you. So here I can see that the reference car is our car, and that I'm selecting 2 cars to compare against. If you only want to see the evolution on some lap of a part of the race, you can change here the slider and select the lap you want to see. So here I only have the evolution of the gap between the lap 48 and 90. And then the last chart available is the lap times chart. So here, for example, I can see the evolution of the lap time of this stint. It can be pretty useful to analyze either the consistency of a driver or the tire degradation in case of a more advanced series. So that was for the charts. Then we have the comparison option. So what it's gonna do is that you can basically compare your lap times with another car. So here I selected the 480 car, and I can see for each lap the difference. So we can see basically here that each lap we are slower than the 480. That's like if you want to compare like a car to a car, but you can also compare two stints. So here I can see that I have like a stint selected already, but I can compare the stints of two drivers. I can compare if I want the lap of two drivers, like that works as well. So you can basically compare whatever you want. The last part of the lap analysis is the best times page, which is basically gonna show you the best sector of each car. You can again decide to only show the best sectors of a class, and you can show the absolute time. You can show the gap to the first, so the best sector, and you can show also like a gap between your car and the best. So that's it for the laps analysis. And then the last section is the race planner. So the race planner basically is going to allow you to prepare your race strategy in advance. So you can click on create a race plan. You can enter the plan name, you can enter the duration of a stint. You can enter the duration of like a pit stop, the duration of a pit and fuel. You enter the start of the race and the duration of the race. Then you just click on create plan, and you can basically add all your stints. Up here I'm adding all the stints of my race. You can then write the name of all of your driver. You can say, oh, okay, I'm gonna refuel at the end of the stint or not. So you can basically organize your whole race, and the software is gonna calculate automatically automatically the time of each stint based on the variables you entered before. During the race, when you're done with a stint, so for example, let's say I'm done with the first stint, you can simply enter the actual pit out time. So yeah, here like the software calculated that we were supposed to pit out at 6:22, but let's say we pitted a tiny bit early, so the pit out is gonna be at 6. I enter the time, I say that the stint is finished, and then the software basically recalculated all the time for the next stints. So it can be pretty useful to organize your race, to know when a driver has to be in the car, and to see the future of the race, to see how many stints you still have left. If you want, you can have multiple race plans. You can just click on plus here, and you can add another plan. It's pretty easy. So yeah, this concludes this little introduction to Timing Dash. Thank you for your time. If you need more information, you can simply click on the 3 dots here and click on documentation, or you can simply send us an email. Thank you.